Yeah, we'll just start recording and then we'll start thinking about it. So I guess, well, what I really want...
Do you have to kick it off or?
Yeah, I can kick it off. All right. Yeah. Okay, we're back. Episode 3 of the Bone Zone. It was meant to drop yesterday, but, you know, got a special guest on, so we've got to get it going proper. So anyway, we've got Rhys Williams, a.k.a. the originator, Back Bone, head honcho. So... yeah, Rhys opened the shop in 2005, and it's 2022, so it's a bloody long time. But thought I'd have you in here to just talk about, you know, what got you psyched to open the shop, to be honest.
Well, pleasure to be here, mate. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that's never really... I know it sounds pretty crazy, but I've never really asked you that anyway. Like, how come you wanted to open the shop?
Good question. Well, I guess I decided to open a shop because, it actually came down to a few things. Like, I didn't even know how old I was back then, but like, say I was 27 or something, right? Anyway, I'd done some traveling. I'd lived in England for a year and I'd traveled through the US and stuff and seen some really cool scenes. In London, for example, the influence that Bicycle Union had over the BMX scene. Like, at first I didn't know what it was, whether it was a brand or movement or, just this cool thing. And so I was really attracted by that. It was just this huge DIY movement going, like it was, FBM and metal bikes and, you name it, all the cool rider-owned companies. But I was reading a Dig magazine. I think it was what I call the original trail issue. It was the one with Alex Dropsy on the cover. And they had some interviews in there, apart from the cool trail features. They had some interviews with, like, owners of these, rider-owned brands, and one of them was Ian Morris, and I can't exactly quote it. I read it like 15, 20 years ago. But the thing that stuck in my mind was that he was talking about, I think it was when he was starting United, and he was talking about sort of legitimizing what he was doing in life. And he kind of felt that starting a company, although he'd already run Federal and stuff, starting, United would give him another 10 years in BMX, legitimizing. And 10 years seems like a long time when you say it out loud. And I was kind of at a point in my life where I was plumbing for a job, which I really enjoyed. But, I was sort of starting to get these outside pressures of, I was riding BMX all the time, building trails. That's what I did. I was a BMXer, but I was getting these outside pressures of when you're going to, I don't know, do adult stuff or something.
Yeah.
And so those words that Ian Morris wrote, really struck home to me. I thought, well, hang on, if I start doing something like business-wise, then that'll give me another 10 years of people not hassling me. Another 10 years, So that sort of gave me...
fueled the idea.
Yeah. It was just something to sort of legitimize what I did and to have it legitimized for other people as well.
Yeah, that's... so how old am I? How old are you? So you're 46. So 17 years ago, you're 29. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's probably, that issue came out a couple of years before that. I did a bunch of traveling.
Yeah.
Saw some really cool shops, Cyclone in the UK, which was run by John Dye, who runs on now Volt BMX and also Bicycle Union. It was a really cool shop. And, Action Wheels in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And yeah, and I just thought, wow, that's something that, I'd like to do.
Yeah. Because I think about the time. So I feel like it's different now, but at the time, and I don't want to say that you're older than everyone else, but at the time you were looked at as the more mature rider in the scene, or at least when because if you think about, we're almost exactly 10 years apart in age, and I remember at the time I didn't know too many dudes that were like legit in the scene in their late 20s, and now it's like, we're all older in our 30s and stuff like that, and I think it's pretty interesting to think that you were thinking of that when you were only in your 20s. Does that make sense? Like, when you're in your when you're in your 20s now, if you could go back in a time machine, and be in your 20s, you'd be like, oh, I've got ages left to ride. But back then, I think.
Well, the weird thing about it is that in my late 20s, I kind of felt like I was old.
That's what I'm getting
I
at.
guess.
It's so funny.
I'm by no means the oldest BMX rider on the planet, and like, I'm not getting at that, but like, I felt like I never would have assumed that like I'd be 46 and still doing this, like like just all through my life, Whoops. So there was some good shops in Australia. There was Strictly in Melbourne, and there was BMX Militia in Sydney, and they were doing a good job for their scenes.
Yeah.
But, it wasn't my scene. And Canberra, had this sort of underground trail scene going on, but I felt like it was a good time to start a shop when I did in 2005. And I had no idea whether it would work or not, but I didn't really care. Like, I just wanted to do it and see. I'd been to the FBM Ghetto Jam, and I saw out the back of FBM, when they're in Binghamton, and I think it was Jeff Harrington was out the back printing shirts, and and they were just dudes doing shit, like,
you didn't need to be
like, all of a sudden I realized you don't need to
be some fully legit setup just to make it happen.
That's right. So
that's interesting. Do you feel like that type of just make it happen attitude come from the trails? Or obviously Rhys is big in trails, but
I don't know if I'm big in trails, but
you know what I mean,
my back hurts from digging.
You're into it.
I'm into it. But I guess so. Like, that's kind of the first BMX I ever did was riding jumps, or tracks of sorts. Not BMX tracks, but I wouldn't really call them trails either. But they, definitely more trails than BMX tracks. And we used to call them BMX tracks, but and it wasn't long before I realized, well, if you want to ride jumps, you need to build them. So from a young age, I was building jumps, stealing dad's shovels and things like that. And so, I guess that mentality of building what I rode, like transferred into, that do-it-yourself type movement that was going on in BMX full stop anyway.
Yeah, I feel like that early mid-2000s was a lot more, I wouldn't say a lot more DIY, but it certainly had a feel to it where it was like everyone was just doing stuff in the various different scenes.
Yeah, that's right. It was an awesome period in BMX, and it was a huge rise. In the culture that we know now. Like, not that it wasn't happening before, but it just came to the forefront, and Bicycle Union had that sticker that continually rings in my head, and that's the keep BMX in the hands of BMXers, which later on we did a sticker of that, and because I just think the words are just so true. But those words from Bicycle Union originally, like, just made so much sense to me, so that's where I felt that it was pretty important to keep BMX in the hands of BMXers. So what was say you came,
say you got inspiration from overseas, from the UK or whatever, and then you came home. So then what was did it go onto the back burner, or did you were like, fuck it, I'm going and I'm starting a BMX shop, or what was it that was the next thing?
I don't really know, like, where it happened along the line. I guess, I was pretty motivated just in general after doing trips like that. And but one of the things was that I just couldn't really get the parts that I wanted here in Canberra in particular. Like I just couldn't get the parts that I wanted, like certain brands. And so so I went down the track of finding out, well, how do I get these brands? I know they're available. You can see them in US magazines, like, so I ended up getting onto Jamie Moore at Stowaway Distribution, and ended up grabbing a few bits that I needed, and sort of spoke to him about, potentially starting a shop, and he thought it was a great idea. And
wow.
And I kind of, I was plumbing at the time, and I was making good money, and I ended up buying just a little bit extra stuff, some DVDs and stuff like that, and then I'd have it in the back of my ute at the skate park, and I'd rock up, and
no way.
He wants to buy a DVD. DVDs were popular then,
Wow.
And and I went on to handlebars, and I need a set of grips, and so I was working as a plumber and selling stuff out the back of my Ford Falcon ute.
Yeah, because I never saw that. I never saw that part of Backbone, but people speak about it, and that's pretty sick. Did that work? Was there just more kids there, or was it just that you were like, oh, I got DVDs, you seen this movie, or what was this? Like,
I can't really remember. Like, I'm not really the major I'm not really the salesman of the year. Like,
yeah.
No, try me. No, I'm not really the salesman of the year, so I don't think I was like approaching people like, I guess I was just putting it out there, like,
yeah, sure,
bars are crack, bro. Like, got some in the back.
yeah.
But I don't know if there was more riders. Like, I don't actually think there was a great deal of riders. Like,
sure.
I think actually by starting the shop, like, created this whole
created a scene.
Yeah, created the scene, exactly. I think there was a good amount of riders, but I could count them all on one hand.
Wow. Which
probably isn't a great idea to start anything if you can count everyone on one hand, but yeah.
Wow. That's pretty sick. Because obviously I came in a little bit later and you were just about to start the shop. But it's pretty interesting to hear that it worked as that way. Like you could probably start saying like, oh, I'm going to open a shop from this,
Yeah, well, I was selling got to the point where I was selling $600 worth of stuff out of the back of my ute each week. And I was like, $600? Like, wow, I could open up a shop.
Yeah.
That wasn't $600 profit. That was just selling $600 worth of stuff, which was probably like $100 worth of profit. And I thought, oh yeah, that'd be cool. Like, didn't factor in that I'd have to pay rent and all this other stuff. But I just didn't really worry about that. Like, I'd been a plumber for 15 years. I'd worked really hard. I'd saved a little bit of money. Plumbers make good money. So I didn't really have to, I'm not saying that I was rich or anything, but I'm just saying that, like, I didn't really worry. I didn't care whether the shop, I just kind of knew it was going to work in some way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So I decided to open a shop. My wife sort of thought it'd be a good idea to do a business course. Actually, she's my girlfriend at the time. And I was like, business course? Oh, God, here we go. So I enrolled in this 7-week business course, which was 1 day a week that went for 1 hour. So it was a 7-hour business course. And the dude that was running it, he'd had heaps of failed businesses in the past. So he knew. He reckons he could choose what a good business was. No, I don't know if that was his story or not. But anyway, I did this business course and it all seemed to add up, you know, like just everything I was saying. You know, I had an answer for everything. So I kind of still do.
Yeah.
And it kept my girlfriend happy that I did the business course. So she was all for it.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, because, I mean, it's crazy to think that something can start from such, like, humble beginnings in a way, you know, like, I just feel like sometimes we're just in the thick of it. And it's crazy that, you know, but we're almost talking about that real core, like, seeing people at the park thing work, like, it works just because you obviously loved it and you obviously still love it, but like back then it just would have been like, I'm stoked on BMX, like come check out this stuff that I got. Like,
that's right.
I got a set of metal bars in the back. How sick is that?
I remember we had like 6 bikes on the floor and people would walk in and they'd be like, oh, 6 bikes. I'd be like, these are the best 6 bikes you can get. Like, you know, and they're looking at me like, there's only 6.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you were actually just before I officially opened the store, the actual shop store. You actually were the first customer to walk in the door while we're still painting.
Yeah, I remember that. I walked in. So the story is that I had ruined my wheels, and then you were like, oh, come around to my house and I'll show you. I got some stuff. And then I went around because I actually met you at Deacon Mansion. That was where I met you on the mini ramp. So I met you at this mini ramp in a backyard and I knew you were Risty that was opening Back Bone because of 2020. They had it in that little news section. And then I guess we just got to kind of talking and being friends and stuff like that. And then, well, not even really friends, I guess, at that point. But then you brought me around to your house and showed me some wheels.
I pulled out all the stops, didn't I?
Yeah, I remember it was all set up in the lounge room.
Came around for a set of wheels and he left with handlebars and DVD and no stubby holders.
Yeah. But then I ended up picking up the wheels on because I wanted 36s. You tried to sell me 48s.
I only ever run 36-hole wheels my whole life. I never had 48s, but when I started the shop, you know, 48s was still a thing. And
yeah, that's right.
I remember like I think the smallest sprocket we had wasn't even like a 30 or 33 or something.
Yeah.
I was still running 44. But yeah, it's crazy. You know, you were the first person to walk into the store, even though I wasn't physically ready, and here you are, like sitting here
pretty crazy
now.
Yeah,
reckon he could do a website. He said. I said, "Website? What the hell is that?" Turns out they're pretty popular.
Yeah. We can maybe talk about. Maybe we can cut it. Maybe not. There's so many things that I want to talk to you about, but at the same time, it's like I don't want to be sitting here for 3 days. Well, the biggest thing I think too now, so like for me, I see you. So if we kind of think about the store a little bit, and we think about how I've always seen you as the most, you know, not to blow smoke up your ass, but the most hardcore BMXer that I know is you. And you've always been like that, but now you're this dad who has 3 kids, and you know, your 2 boys are into BMX, and I remember, not even that long ago, because you know I obviously only just become a father, but not even that long ago, the kind of consensus was not the consensus, but it was almost like parents and BMX never really was a thing in BMX, you know, like we never really heard about all these pros that had kids and stuff like that, and now you've got kids that ride BMX, and I guess what I'm kind of getting at is, has BMX changed, and do you feel different as a BMXer compared to the way you felt 15 years ago? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't really know. Like, I don't think I feel any different of a BMXer, but that's how I used to feel. But, well, number one, like, if I go riding now and I don't have my boys, like, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like,
yeah.
And if, I'm psyched they like to ride BMX, and I never push them to do that. Like, I guide them, you know, if they want to learn something or whatever. But it's definitely changed BMX to a degree that I just see a bigger picture to it all.
Yeah.
You know, like, I've enjoyed a life riding bikes, and everybody knows they kick your ass, you know, you fall off. But there's so much reward to it too, you know, you pull a trick or you... And so there's all these life lessons that go along with it. And I don't know, just having kids and having kids that ride, I don't know, it just opened a bigger picture for me. I don't really know in what way, but it's definitely made it... I don't know, and I guess in the same way as Ian Morris's thoughts of getting another 10 years of it for starting a business, having kids that ride, they'll get you another 10 years too, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I remember, well, now that I think about it I only got like 1-year-old son, but I remember we've spoken in the past and you've always said that BMX is quite a selfish act. You know, like you've kind of said that. I mean, I'm kind of paraphrasing. Like, I don't really know how to explain your thought exactly, but I remember you saying, you know, it's quite selfish the way that you know, spend a lot of time having to go and dig or you know, to go and take time to go and ride is a little bit selfish when there's other things that could be done to progress life or whatever. But now I can see with your 2 kids, it's almost like you're able to bring them into what makes BMX so sick, you know, like and that's kind of been reflected in the shop, because you as a dad, you're getting to show your boys, like, man, traveling to here is sick, building this jump is sick. And they get
meeting
to
friends from all over.
Yeah, that's right. Meeting friends. But then, as well as that, kind of definitely has made me realize through you, even before having kids, that it's like, man, it's not even. I personally get just as much satisfaction out of helping other kids find that cool thing about BMX, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's been because you've been sort of like holding the light, like showing people the way, because, you know, in our scene, you were the dude that had, you know, kids first, and you made it still happen, and you were still digging and still riding heaps. You know, you probably ride more than anyone that I know still, even to this day. Like,
yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know if I had a torch or light, might have a little candle or something, but yeah, just kept. I don't know. I guess, you know, I've just, you know, BMX has just been my thing that, you know, it's my escape from, you know, from outside pressures, and obviously working in it and riding it, and, you know, I coach kids at the track and I'm always in it, but it's just... It's my fountain of youth. You know, I think it is the fountain of youth. I heard you know, J Bones say that one time, and he's dead right. And you know, now to be able to pass that on to my kids, look, you know, they might ride for another 50 years, or they might ride for another 2 weeks, and that's their decision. But to be able to pass some of this stuff on to my kids and other kids as well, you know, is pretty cool. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there was something that I was going to say about that too. Well, I guess I was just sort of thinking about how you so again, to get back to the, I guess, hardcoreness of you, I've always seen you as the dude that's, well, like, you took me to the trails back when I was like 18 or whatever, and I was
here we go,
freaking so nervous, and I don't know if I've ever been so nervous to ride ever. And I remember casing or something and crashing, and you were like, all right, no more. But what I'm getting at is, like at the time, like you were saying that you want to get parts that you couldn't get, but those parts were probably like brands that were maybe a little bit more seen as hardcore brands, FBM and things like that. And I remember for a long time, the shop had a pretty strong stance on parts that we would stock and things like that. Do you feel like that's changed, like from your own perspective, or you just feel like it's something that had to change? Or
well, let's just back up for a second.
yeah.
I didn't want to see you get hurt at the trails that day.
No, I'm not saying that you. I wasn't saying you were cutting me off. I just remember being like, this dude. Like I had nothing but respect for that. You know what I mean? Because I feel like it's important to have someone that is able to just be like, no, I don't want to see you get snapped off at my jumps. Like, I don't want to have to deal with, I don't want to have to put my responsibility and then have to start looking after you because you've hurt yourself, broken your arm or something. I'm cool with that. But it's just interesting to, I've always seen you as someone who is hardcore, and for whatever reason, that stuff sort of sticks in my head as someone that's, you were building jumps for starters, in this small group of people in Canberra. And then you always had like the bikes that I'd never even seen, and probably seen like one FBM frame before ever, and things like that.
Yeah, I don't know, like getting onto your question about, what brands we stocked in the shop. Yeah, obviously it was a strong rider-owned thing, and there's plenty of sick brands making plenty of sick parts. Yeah, I don't know whether that's really changed or not over the years. There's, I guess probably lightened up on a lot of the stuff that we stock as far as, certain colorways of things or whatever. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like things like oil slick aren't my cup of tea and never will be. But I don't mind the fact that some kid wants that. Not everybody likes the same stuff. And if we were all the same, that'd be pretty boring as well.
Yeah.
So I get that, I get that choice is a thing.
Yeah.
And, yeah, who am I to tell someone what they like or don't like, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's cool. Like, I think it's good to have been shown that those sorts of things, like a bit of a teacher risk. Like I feel like you have always been someone who's kind of guided a lot of things that have happened in the Canberra scene that no one really realizes. I'm just going to put it out there. I personally think that you've done a lot for the Canberra scene that no one really realizes because you were doing it almost before everyone else, in a way. You know what I mean? Like for example, like all of the jams and stuff that we do now only really happen because you showed that you can just make something happen just by being like, I'm putting a jam on at Western, I'm putting a thing on at this, like.
Well, there was just none of that going on, and look, at the end of the day, I'd gladly just stay in the woods all day long and dig jumps and ride trails, right? I like riding the skate park, like at night when the lights are on, like I like riding the skate park, and I race BMX as well. But I'd gladly be in the woods all day long. But there was things like jams and that. Like I knew it was important to other riders, you know, like, you know, give them a chance to showcase, you know, their skills and people like that, you know, like, and not only that, but just get, you know, groups of riders together and have a good time. So that was one of the things about starting a shop, was that I was most excited about. It wasn't selling parts, making money. It was, you know, that I could run jams and we could print T-shirts with our name on it. That's, you know, my favorite thing.
Yeah.
And stickers, you know, that's probably number one favorite, and then shirts was second favorite thing to do. You know, so things like that, and then, you know, hook up riders, you know, have a team, and, you know, like, they were the important things.
Yeah.
Why I started Backbone.
So essentially just to do exactly what you got inspiration from in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. You know, like, definitely didn't reinvent the wheel, like, with what I was doing, but
you didn't
brought it to this part of town.
Yeah.
You know, like,
like you didn't go to, what's John Dyer's shop called at the time?
Oh, it was
Cyclone.
He's working at Cyclone. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like, it's not like you walk there and like, see the profit margin in this.
No.
Like, you're probably just like, damn, this is a pretty sick, you know, scene and feeling, and
that's right.
Sick brand. Bicycle Union's a sick looking brand with really cool, you know, slogans or whatever on it.
Yeah. It was definitely, yeah, Bicycle Union was definitely a huge influence. Ian Morris as well. Not so much Ian's riding, like, I'm never going to fucking bash down a 40 stair rail. Like,
Yeah.
I respect Ian's riding, you know, like, badass.
Sure. Yeah.
But, like, it was more the words that I'd read or heard, you know, from Ian about his stance on BMX and this and that. Obviously S&M and FBM, you know, my whole life growing up watching props and these interviews with Mola, where he was just this ratty sort of dude, you know, like, just always taking the piss, and he was the owner of S&M. You know, like, that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
You know, and so seeing those brands in particular, or people, definitely a huge influence.
Yeah, just wanted to contribute that same sort of thing by the sounds of it, but in Canberra.
That's right. You know, and it's crazy to be 16 or 17 years on, and, you know, well, it's not crazy that I'm still doing it and still pushing that, but
No.
I don't know. It's just crazy that
it's crazy.
It's happened. We're still getting away with it.
I know, it seems insane.
Another 10 years, just another 10 years.
Yeah. It seems, it doesn't seem like it's been that long. You know, like when you say how many years that is, it's such a shit ton of years, but it doesn't really feel like that. And to be honest, it doesn't even really feel like anything. I actually feel more excited to be doing the same stuff, you know what I mean?
That's
like,
right.
I don't get any less excited to try and make, you know, we're both coming up with like new fucking sticker design or something, like, I love that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the fact that, you know, now I have kids, my boys are 12 and 10 and they ride a lot. And so I want them to grow up into a cool scene where it is supportive and friendly and motivating and creative. They're all just good things for kids to be involved with, right? Yeah. Because there's a lot of junk for kids to get involved with these days.
That's right.
So
it's definitely a pure thing going on.
Dudes like Jack Gruber and Jack O'Reilly, you know, bought their first bikes from Back Bone, you know.
I know.
You know,
yeah, that
Jack had the last section on the Back Bone, DVD.
Yeah, that freaks me out. That you can sell a kid their first bike and then you watch them become like this phenom rider. Pretty crazy. Yeah, there's definitely some cool things going on. I think just to reiterate, because of your idea of keeping things DIY and nothing's really too hard because of that reason, which I feel like people need to know the name. I mean, people probably can guess by now the name Backbone, but like, you should tell the story about how you got the name.
Well, I reckon they'll be doing good to guess it. But
what is Backbone?
Can hardly remember it, let alone someone else guess it. Nah. Yeah, so I was trying to think of the name that I was going to call this store, and someone mentioned about this thing called a thesaurus, and I thought, I've heard of a lot of dinosaurs, but I've never heard of a stegosaurus and a brontosaurus, but a thesaurus. No, anyway, I'd never heard of a thesaurus myself, but anyway, I guess all you guys know what a thesaurus is. Don't have to go into it, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so I just put down a list of words, that BMX meant to me, fun and dedication and exciting and this and that. And anyway, one of the words that came up was backbone.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
So, and so it stuck. I think I was sitting in the Deacon mansion with Russell, and I think it was his computer, and he was the one that put it into the thesaurus. Yeah, he did. He had an actual laptop. And anyway, he punched it into the thesaurus. Yeah. And anyway, I came up with this list of words, and that's how we got Backbone.
Yeah.
So, and he thought it was a cool name, and I thought it was a cool name. And
yeah, it's a sick name.
So, and then Russell, I think he actually came up with the heart logo design.
Yeah.
He drew that. He drew that up.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, because I feel like it's actually kind of funny. I got this thing where Mel and I were watching a movie, and they're like, blah 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 is the backbone of this town or something like that. Like, I feel like it's the perfect way to describe the things that you're doing, because you're just trying to you're not trying to become the center of something, but you're trying to be the glue that holds everything together. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like being introduced to the trail scene in Canberra, for me, like, that was how, like, I feel like it's this tight group of mates that had to do, doing hard work to create this scene, and that's like the backbone of Canberra. And then, the shop is the backbone of the BMX scene. Like, I feel like it's a very fitting name, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that we were still are entrenched in digging and riding trails, I think was a really strong point to start anything, because like it's kind of a minority thing,
Yeah.
but takes so much hard work and dedication to do that, to build a set of trails.
Yeah.
And I didn't really see any other stores that were super heavily trail focused or orientated. Not that, we only stock trail parts or something.
Yeah.
But
Just love
trails
it.
is the number one influence.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to dance around that. So I guess thinking about it all, like, we've been doing it. Well, I came in like a couple of years after you opened the shop, and but you've been doing it for a
couple of years.
Well, I can't remember. I think I started working there. I always try and think about
hounded me every other week for a job.
Yeah.
He was. I got this website. I can do a website.
Yeah.
Don't know what it is, mate. I didn't have a computer. Like,
yeah. Yeah, you had the old till. The old register that.
I only just threw that out too.
But yes, I think I started working there on Saturday, and then eventually working there 3 days a week, and then blah blah blah. But here we are. But I guess it's 2022 now. Is there, what do you want to see out of BMX and the shop, and it doesn't have to be the shop, but just for BMX for you and your life over the next 10 years. Talking about getting 10 years out of it. Well, we're almost coming up on 20 years of Backbone.
Yeah, I don't know. I think BMX is I guess it comes in and out of stages of all sorts of stuff. Popularity, whether it's hard times, at the moment it's hard to get a lot of parts. A lot of companies are struggling to get stuff made and this and that. But just as a whole, I don't know. I think BMX, from where I'm looking at it from in this town, I think it's coming at a really good point. Like, there's a lot of young kids coming up. Heaps of young kids coming up. I've never seen so many young kids ride. 14-inch bikes, 16-inch bikes, 18-inch bikes. So I think the future is looking really positive. The older dudes, are still doing it. They're still building trails or building concrete, ramps and stuff, just building their own stuff, as well as the government now sees it as more of a legit thing too, which is good. More skate parks probably getting built. I know Sydney's been getting a heap done, and say Canberra's probably due for a couple more. But yeah, I guess I said the future being good, for it, just more places to ride, and I think dudes will continually get into it. And I see a lot of older dudes getting back into it too, that may have dropped out along the way. So
yeah, I definitely see there's a lot of now there's dads who have that, riding has been their sport, and now they've got young kids. I mean, similar to yourself, and I feel like everyone can kind of see the gap being bridged, and it's not a hard thing to be like, oh, that 10-year-old's riding the skate park, I'm riding the skate park, I'm going to make him feel like this is, he can be welcome in it, I feel like 15, 20 years ago, a lot of the older guys who were probably only in 25 years old or less were probably get out of here, I think it's become a lot more of a positive and nurturing part of time in BMX, and I think it's pretty cool because all these kids, think about your kids, 10, 12 years old, I would never know two kids that would know more about the hardcoreness of BMX as far as you got to build jumps, you got to maintain jumps if you want to ride them, and they're being exposed to so many things. And
yeah, I mean, that just comes down to life lessons though. I don't want my kids to, you've got to learn that stuff. I mean, I'm not saying they push barrow after barrow, but jumps just don't magically appear, and that could go for anything in life. Things just don't appear. So
yeah, true.
Takes people to work for them and things like that, but probably got a bit off topic there. I don't know, but
no.
It's not that I want to be hard dad or anything, but they're growing up in a hard world, besides, it's all stuff I did anyway. If they want to do it, they can. If they don't, then
for sure
do something else.
Yeah.
But work hard at whatever else you're doing too.
Yeah. It's definitely a cool time anyway for young kids to be involved in BMX, just because there's all these dudes that have. It just seems like BMX is all the older guys are looking after BMX in the right way, whereas I feel like maybe 20 years ago it seemed like it was a bit more commercial and then it died, and now since then, you know, you've been influenced by people like Ian Morris, and now you're doing the influencing to try and help kids of the next generation to be like, oh, if I want to make BMX sick, then all I have to do is be a part of it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And I mean, it's such a double-edged sword. The reason why, I own a shop, you know, or we own a shop together. But that's never why I've done any of, you know, any of the extra stuff, the jams and this and that. It's just purely because I've just, up till now, had such a great life, you know, from riding bikes and traveling and meeting people, and that it's just something that I want to share, and I see it as a really positive way for kids and other people. Like, you know, if I can, you know, it's just keep leading the way like that.
Yeah,
keep the flame burning.
Definitely. I feel like that was a good way. I don't know if we need to talk about much anymore after that. It was a good way to sort of finish it off. I feel like I could talk, you know, we talk all the time. You're one of my best friends, and I feel really lucky to be a part of Backbone. So definitely thank you for, you know, letting me be a part of it. And it's sick to do this. It's almost hard when you know someone so well. Like, how are you gonna ask them questions when you already know a lot of stories and answers? But we'll do it again. So everyone, thanks for watching Backbone Zone. We're finished, and please leave a comment. Oh yeah, you got.
If it looks warm here in the studio, it's not. Like, I'm absolutely freezing, and we're not in the studio either. Sorry, back on the ties.
Yeah, leave a comment and just let us know what you think. And thanks for watching. Cheers.